In the latest episode of Spears and Steinberg, Aries Spears took a break from impressions and pop culture debates to deliver what might be his most unfiltered commentary in a while. A sharp, sometimes funny, sometimes frustrated look at the Austin comedy scene and the strange mix of hype, chaos, and con artistry surrounding it. Spears opens by admitting that Austin's comedy world, once hyped as the new Mecca, has lost its spark. The scene, he says, still has potential. It's here, but right now it's overwhelmed. Too many people came too fast. Comics chasing opportunity, podcast fans hoping proximity turns them into insiders, and even total newcomers who have never done an open mic. The problem, Spears argues, isn't Joe Rogan or Tony Hinchcliffe, who simply brought their California model to Texas. The problem is structural. The scene was created before the culture was made. Austin got the infrastructure of a comedy capital before developing the etiquette and hierarchy that make one work. He paints the city's rise like a viral startup that forgot to write its mission statement. Everyone wants to be part of the movement, but few understand the rules.
Austin, right?
Austin. Austin Powers, Texas.
Yeah. I don't know if I asked you this last podcast, but they say that the Austin comedy scene ain't got the Zuzu pep that it once did. You feeling that?
Like all things, sometimes when something's brand new, it has a lot of sizzle, but the plate cools down a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still think it's here. I think it's here. I just think that it's an overwhelmed comedy cult. It's not a culture. They didn't have time to develop a culture. Like, it happened. Rogan was out here. Tony came out here. Tony Hinchcliffe came out here, and then and then a lot of people came out here. Not necessarily comics, podcast fans, people who hadn't even done an open mic, and it just overwhelmed the scene. And I think the scene's still developing. I think it's under construction, and I think it will be there. And I heard people blame this on Rogan and Tony, and I don't agree with that, because they did what they did in California,
Right.
and so they just brought it out here. And if they brought it out here and they grew, but the scene has to cultivate its own culture. And that's not on Rogan. I mean, he built a beautiful club. It's there. People are complaining. I heard people complaining, yeah, well, it's so cliquish, we can't get into it. Well, there's a problem, that because there isn't a comedy culture. Like when I came up, there was I worked with different comics and at a club. And I understood the comedy owner made me well aware before I ever went to put one foot into the green room that it wasn't my green room. It belonged to the headliner, and you have to work it the way the headliner wants what they want. You have to, these people that come, they don't have any idea that the culture didn't catch up to the people. And so Rogan's protecting his club so that people can come in and enjoy it. I know that there's going to be mistakes that happen. I know the Dave Attell one with his people, but these mistakes are going to happen until we work this culture out and people are understanding of what really needs to, how this needs to flow.
Some comics, Spears jokes, think being on a podcast is the same as doing stand-up. He doesn't see malice in it, just growing pains. The scene, he insists, is under construction and will eventually find balance. But for now, it's cliquish. There are distinct spheres: Rogan's Club, the Velveeta Room, and smaller indie spaces, each with its own loyalties and social codes. Spears calls the Velveeta Room an amazing room, but also notes that many new comics are clueless about the unspoken laws of comedy culture, especially green room etiquette. In traditional circuits, the green room belongs to the headliner. Newcomers enter only when invited. In Austin, Spears says that boundary often gets ignored. Fans wander backstage. Open micers treat it like a hangout.
So what's the problem? People keeping the Cheetos in the green room?
Not in the, you as a headliner, you might want some peace in your green room. And people are coming in, and this, I learned this from Attell. I was very excited to meet Attell because I was a fan, and I fanboyed a little bit on him, and he doesn't want fans in the green room.
You told this story.
Yeah, he wants comics in the green room, but not to this guy. He wants comics in the green room. So that's the same thing that happens here. They're protecting themselves so that they can enjoy their space without having just like fans that are just going to overwhelm that situation. You want to have a good time when you're doing comedy. You don't want to be overwhelmed with a fan in the green room. The fans are outside the seats.
They're actually very selective about the green room.
Yeah, I know, but that's because of what was happening. That they had to be very selective. You really don't understand.
Whoa, criticism. Oh my god. Can you tell the dude, Justin?
Yeah, you know, I think when
Have you ever heard it before?
when this thing first popped off, yeah, I felt the excitement of, you know, Rogan's got the club and Kill Tony was happening here. And I remember when we first came here, Ron White was the guest on Kill Tony.
Segura moved out here.
Yeah, so like you kind of said, I mean, you know, the plate was hot. But I really don't see this developing anything past what it was, which is to say, I don't think it's going to maintain any certain level of excitement. Because when you look at Creek in the Cave or any of those other spots, those just feel like, you know, bars trying to have a place to tell jokes. And other than maybe Kill Tony spot and however long that lasts, and Rogan spot, the excitement seems more about the bars than comedy.
That same lack of structure, Spears suggests, explains why some comics are fiercely protective of their rooms. Rogan's exclusivity isn't arrogance, it's defense. A comedy club thrives on controlled chaos, not complete anarchy. Headliners need peace, not selfie lines. The protectiveness that outsiders call elitism is, in Spears' view, just good club hygiene.
I feel completely different. There's great little clubs out here. I think they inserted too many places that people are doing shows that are too big for the shows, or the room isn't conducive to good comedy. But like the Velveeta room is an amazing room. It's a small room. These other rooms are going to catch or are going to be part of this, whether, and again, it's cliquish. So like Rogan's room is one thing. Velveeta room is another. What's going to happen though, if this city grows the way that it's supposed to grow, which is going to be I think they have it projected at 2100. That is going to be the fourth or fifth largest city in the country. So the comedy scene is bound to follow that. As it grows, the comedy scene is going to grow. They have the people here. They just have to people have to develop a culture. The scene was created before the culture was made. That's the problem, to me.
Okay.
The episode then takes a left turn into a story that perfectly illustrates how messy Austin's comedy boom can get. Spears recounts being scammed by a man named Thomas McCormick, a con artist, he calls him, who posed as a booker promising big gigs.
Incidentally, some of y'all might ask, did I ever do Rogan or all the podcasts that I told you I was going to do? And the answer is no, because come to find out, this sucking scumbag, Thomas, let me get this nigga's name right. So anybody...
Don't get sued for putting his name out there.
He ought to be worried about being sued for scamming people.
Yeah.
Thomas McCormick. If there are any comedians out there, podcasters, and you ever get approached by a guy named Thomas McCormick,
Who says he's a booker.
he is full of and I should have been smarter about it, but I probably got caught up in my own excitement that I didn't really think it through. And I mean, listen, for what it cost me to hire him to do it, it's toilet tissue for me, what I paid him. So it is what it is. You live and you learn. But if you ever hear of a guy that come across named Thomas McCormick, this sucker is a current artist, and my lawyer will be contacting his ass.
Irish student, McCormick.
I don't know what he's, a piece of so yeah, there that is. And I gotta be honest, as great as it would have been to do all those, for me, the excitement was gonna be Not Today, Pal. Again, with the actors who played Meadow and AJ Soprano.
Yeah.
And that still could possibly happen. I just have to go through different channels. Because one of the things that this guy kept constantly telling me was, I already talked to him, you're booked, they're excited to have you. So, and then all of a sudden we get maybe 3-4 days out from coming to Austin. This nigga's not returning calls. He's not returning text messages. And, I don't know what it is, if it's a pride thing or you just trying to save your ass. But a couple times, and the whole time I'm being as cordial as possible. Once it starts to sink in that something ain't right, my language started getting stronger. And then that's what he would respond back. And he told me something about, I ain't had my phone on me because I've been in the hospital for 14 days.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Between the honest frustration about Austin's scene and the absurdity of being conned by a fake booker, Spears ends up offering a portrait that's oddly accurate for the city right now. A comedy boomtown full of talent, ambition, and just enough chaos to make it unpredictable. Austin, he suggests, will get its culture eventually, but for now, it's still figuring out who belongs backstage and who's just there for the selfie.